The Vail Dance Festival returns July 26th through August 5th with 13 performances featuring dance luminaries from across the United States and around the world. This summer, they welcome Dance Theater of Harlem, Limon Dance Company, Cleo Parker Robinson Dance, Colorado Ballet, and Dance Aspen, as well as artists from Alonzo King's Lines Ballet, American Ballet Theater, Ballet X, New York City Ballet, and so much more. Conversations on Dance will be bringing you a behind-the-scenes look at all the action. Join us in person for 8 live events featuring incredible festival artists, including Katherine Herlin, Sarah Mearns, Robert Garland, Audrey Sissoko, and so many more. If you are not able to join us in person, be sure to subscribe to Conversations on Dance wherever you get your podcasts to listen to the live episodes after the events. Get your tickets now for festival performances at vaildance.org and claim your tickets for COD events at vaildance.org/conversations-on-dance or click the link in the show notes. I'm Rebecca King Ferraro.
And I'm Michael Sean Breeden, and you're listening to Conversations on Dance.
The Vail Dance Festival is just around the corner, and our coverage starts now. Today, we are joined by American Ballet Theater principal dancer and friend of the pod, Herman Cornejo. Herman joins us in the midst of ABT season, where he is celebrating 25 incredible years with the company. We catch up with Herman about this season, what it means to be celebrating such an important milestone, what his plans are for the future, and what he will be dancing this year at the Vail Dance Festival. As a festival favorite, we are so looking forward to seeing him soon on the Vail Dance Festival stage.
Good morning, Herman. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always such a pleasure having you on. Right now you're in the middle of, it's your 27th Met season. 25 as an official company member, but we count those years in our house. Okay, apprentice years count. So how's the season been going so far? Any highlights to speak of?
Oh, the whole year it's been just incredible. I think we don't realize as dancers how much we've done in our career. And when Susan asked me, would you like to celebrate your 25th anniversary with the company? I was like, oh my God, already 25 years.
Wow.
It just flew by. And to me, it's so beautiful to find myself in this position where I've done it all. And now it's just pure joy. Like I don't have the need to do it, but I just want to do it. And so, yeah, since the beginning of this year, every show, it's been just so beautifully also because the partners that I have, they give me so much.
Mm-hmm. You have some great partners, that's for sure. The best of the best.
How do you feel physically at this point? Like, obviously ballet where it takes a toll on your body, but obviously as audience members, when we look at you, I mean, you look as fresh as the first time I saw you at the Kennedy Center in like 2001 or something, but how are you feeling inside of your own vessel?
Yeah, no, it's insane. I tried not to think about it because the way I feel, it's like I feel better than I was in my 30s.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
There's something to do with there's so much knowledge now in how to take care of our bodies. Mm-hmm. Before we just, we love the arts, we love dance, we just go dance and then do a normal life. We didn't have, at least in my case, I didn't have a proper knowledge of how to take care of my body in my 20s, 30s. And now there's so much that you can do. Also, the companies, especially ABT, it's getting so much better are the hours that we have for therapy. Mm-hmm. And so that it makes a big difference. Also, right. Bringing our own flow to everywhere we go. There's prompt flow to take care of our knees and ankles and all of that. It's a big help. But also, I feel like at this point in my career, and I think I already mentioned this, like I don't have anything to prove. Mm-hmm. So that weight in my back is gone. And so now it feels so fresh that I take every show as my last one without having a long-term goal. And that is giving me life back. I don't know. It's stretching my years.
Wow. I find this interesting because I think there's a lot of times you'll hear from different generations. Like I know we would hear from an earlier generation, like we didn't have physical therapy and, we did it. And you're like, yeah, but did you want to, And so now like you kind of have experienced both of those different time frames, I guess, like back when it wasn't as accessible and now that you have it. So what is it that you're doing, like your cross training? What is some of the programming that you're doing to keep your body feeling so good?
Well, first of all, I think the mentality of work smart. In the past, like they will say, "Oh, we used to rehearse 7 hours a day." I mean, yeah, sometimes we do now when it's necessary, but you shouldn't. I think especially for principal dancers, 2, 3 hours is a good amount, and then the other 5, it's therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
um, but yeah, and also I also changed my diet. Not to get thinner, but to eat healthy in a way that every food that I buy, it's the best food, like expensive and organic, and all of that made a huge difference.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm wondering, I'm just thinking, I was just at the Dutch National and they have a fantastic physical therapy system. And they were saying they develop programs for the rep. Like they watch the ballets before and then they kind of build out from there. Like, is that something you do? I mean, not necessarily that anyone feeds you a program, but that you feel like, okay, I have Siegfried this week and, this has a lot of X certain step, and so to do that, I really need to like feel strong in this way. Do you think specifically about your repertoire when you're building out what you're doing over those extra hours?
Yeah, completely. And also now that you mentioned this, that's something that I need to thank Susan Jaffe, because the way she's putting the rehearsals together, like now, for example, we used to create a piece in 4 weeks and perform it. Now we're creating it almost a year in advance so that you have time just to create slowly. And even for the fall season that the ladies are doing second act Baya there,
Mhm.
they've been rehearsing now to be prepared for the fall season. So Susan is giving this ramp up line much better for the dancer. So that's something to consider as well.
That's
Right.
cool because we talk about this a lot because at Miami City Ballet, that would be, I think it was more just like a calendar situation, but that's what we would do at the beginning of the season. We'd learn everything, we'd create everything, and then we'd put it away and bring everything back little by little. And we always say how much we liked that because you have more time to think too, right? You plan your season like this program's going to be hard. This is, going to be an easier time. And so that's so interesting to hear since you've experienced both sides of it, that's not only good for your body, but I would imagine as an artist, you find that more helpful as well.
Yeah, and especially now that, well, our season it's shorter than before. We used to have 8 weeks like the Met. Now it's down to 4 or 5 weeks, but still, Susan managed to put like the strongest classic in the middle, so you have this ramp up and
Nice.
also down. And that's great. That's the way you have to think nowadays. Um, we're improving, evolving, and everything should get better. And not because they used to do that, we should do it as well.
Yeah.
Right. So Susan has been directing the company now for a little bit over a year and a half. Obviously, it sounds like you're already having a really great time under her direction. But I wanted to ask about that because we've talked to a lot of dancers who've experienced a transition in their careers. Happens to many of us, most of us, maybe even. But at this point in your career, when you're a quarter century already over under someone else. What's that like having to shift gears? And how did you sort of reestablish trust and figure out what your dynamic was going to be with Susan?
Well, for Susan, it hasn't been the perfect transition because as soon as she took the direction, our CEO left, and many other part of the big part of the organization left the company. So we haven't really had Susan as our artistic director. She took more the job of the financials, and
Hmm.
also we went through the AGMA contracts. So that took away from her focus in dancers and in the studio. So I can't really say much about, Susan as the dance director yet because she took the other job. And now that we have the new CEO, I'm just so excited to really experience the real Susan Jaffe artistic director.
I just want to mention too that we had her on the podcast and she said all the same things that you said, that she felt like she was pulled away and she's looking forward to being with you guys now that they have a new person to help her. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. I mean, so far we are loving the rep, having different things like War for Chocolate or Wolfworks, and next year Winter Tales. I think all that kind of rep that we see that the Royal Ballet is doing and we admire that we are having it now, and hopefully we'll start creating new for us.
Yeah. Yeah. When you have, 27 years with a company, it might be easy to occasionally feel like, okay, I've kind of seen and done everything there is to do. So how do you stay motivated and continue to push yourself, make new goals for yourself? I mean, you have had premieres in roles as recently as last year. You did Etudes, the principal, for the first time. But outside of that, when you're doing your 500 Siegfried, how do you keep motivation? How do you keep pushing yourself?
One, I think it's because I find it so easy and I have joy in doing things that I excel at. So yeah, like doing Siegfried over and over, I just, go to the performance and I find, the ballet steps, they just so easy on me and I just enjoy doing them. But big part of why I come back to this role is because of my partners. It sounds crazy, but I have only done, I believe, 4 shows with Skylar Brandt, my Swan Queen. It hasn't been that many. So for me to be on the other side and be the supporting in a way because of my knowledge and my experience, seeing the new star, bloom, it's so rewarding to be on the other side.
And you can tell that they all just love you so much too. Like they just love dancing with you.
Did you have someone when you were younger that you felt like was doing that for you? That like an older dancer that like kind of helped bring you up through these special repertoire?
Well, definitely when I started with American Ballet Theater and I was paired with Xiomara Reyes. I mean, she was dancing everything with Angel and she had everything under her belt. And so she was an incredible partner for me for the first 10 years. And then, of course, when I was paired with Alessandra Ferri for many years to do Romeo and Juliet and many other things that we created together, Alice for me was that other pair where I could really be myself because I knew like she'll be fine on stage. She's done it all. So I could really kind of improvise on stage and artistically. I think artistically with Alice, it was a moment where I stepped up.
She was someone that I was just thinking of, she's on stage with Wolfworks and has come back for various projects. And I could see you following that model, maybe, especially if you're feeling physically good. I mean, what do you see for yourself? Even let's say like you've done your ABT retirement gala moment. Like how else might you explore and continue to perform after that is over?
Well, definitely. I mean, I have to say that my mind right now is really focusing, stretching my years. I think I have another 4 or 5 years strong dancing. What I'm trying to do now is to produce my own shows, and I'm starting with a piece I created called Anima Animal, that it's based on Nijinsky, and I'm bringing that to New York next year. I can't say the theater yet, but so I'm starting already in the path of producing. And hopefully in the future, I'll be ABT's director. But I mean, in the future, many years, because I want my son to be have a
Mhm.
life and enjoy his teenager years. So after that, we'll love to come back home and be the director.
We weren't not going to bring that up. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember that. Like, I mean, it's on our little list of thoughts for this interview because I mean, you said that, and I love how direct you were about that in our last interview. You just,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to put it out there. Why skirt around it?
Right.
That's what we
And
want that.
also 27 years, it's home. And if I think of directing a company, it's just no brainer. I know it inside out, and I just love that company. So
Mhm.
when you love a company, you'll do the best for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Also, it's just so nice when you have like that, like the institutional memory and love. It is always a little for me heartbreaking when you see the company diverge so much from what it's established. It takes like a complete directional change. Like director comes in who's never been there or performed there or whatever, even worked with the dancers. I think it's like now, Susan from Kevin, and then if you were to continue on, it's a beautiful way to have this lineage that makes sense for the company.
Yeah, but also I think as a director, you can have your view and your goals, but ultimately you have to see where the company is at and give the audience what they want, give the dancers what they want, and also apply your vision. So you
Mhm.
need to have a balance. You can't
Right.
just pick a company just because you want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Thinking about 27 years with an organization and as a dancer, that's a milestone that most dancers don't even come close to. So I wonder, like you were mentioning earlier, that you aren't trying to impress anyone. You're just dancing for you now. I wonder what advice you would give yourself in your early years now looking back and maybe to younger dancers, because especially at the beginning, right? All you can think about is just like making your bosses happy and impressing people. And so what would you tell your younger self?
Honestly, I wouldn't change anything. If anything, I will say that everything is going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't I wouldn't say much because when you worried and when you stress, um, it's good because you're pushing forward. So there's no way I can go back and say, don't worry, don't be stressed, because then I wouldn't have pushed as hard and I wouldn't make it where I am right now. So the moments that you feel that you have to impress, you have to impress. The moments that you're in pain and you have to dance, you'll dance with pain. Because you need to take your spot. There are so many dancers and so many incredible artists around that when you have the opportunity, you gotta take it. So yeah, I wouldn't interfere.
Yeah.
I
Use the
love
stress
that.
for good. Use the stress. That's
Yeah.
what I'm taking away.
Yeah. I mean, I always used to think like, I'd be like, you're nervous because you care, and this is a positive thing. Don't be,
That's
it's not
true.
like it's like it's a movie Inside Out. Have you guys seen Inside Out?
I haven't yet,
Oh,
but
it's so cute.
I've heard it's cute.
It's very cute. I mean, the idea behind it is that like not a bad emotion like sadness or disappointment or anxiety isn't inherently bad because it's teaching you how to grow and whatnot.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Well, anyway, we're so excited for you to be back at Vail, as you always
Yeah.
are. How many years is this going to be for you at the Vail Dance Festival?
I lost track. Have no idea. Possibly 15 years.
We might need to count because then we might have to do like an anniversary in Vail too, for you.
We have to. Now it's all about celebrations.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Although I'm scared of celebrations because now everybody's coming up to me telling me, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're retiring," and I'm like,
No.
no, it says
Mm,
celebration. It doesn't say."
Yeah. No, I
no,
mean,
we're celebrating.
mhm. But at least I always love ABT's been doing that for ages. Because I remember when I was at School of American Ballet and I would always come to the performances, they always did 20th year as a principal and things like that. And that was, I think, so lovely. We should need to give people their flowers while they're still performing and
Mhm.
celebrate them as we go along.
Yeah.
Um,
I see. And it's beautiful that this year they celebrated many different things, including the Corps de Ballet. I think that was an incredible moment and day for the Corps de Ballet to be recognized.
mhm.
That's so nice. I didn't know that happened. Did I miss that somehow? I must have missed it on social media. How nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
So what will you be performing in Vail this year? What are you working on at the moment?
Vail, I was asked to perform Black Swan Parade with Isabella Wolston.
Mm.
Oh yeah, how fun. I can't wait.
It's gonna be great. I love performing with Bella, and we just did Romeo and Juliet together at the Met because Cassandra got injured, and unfortunately, because I love her so much. But Bella, it's also an incredible artist, and we did a Romeo that I will never forget.
Mm.
But now it'll be nice to perform something different like Black Swan. Then I'll be performing with Melissa Too Good, Nonsense, Pam's Parade.
Yay!
Yeah. And
That's
coming back.
that's
So
on my list of things I wanted to. I mean, we love everything you do in Vail, everything you do generally. But that was a very memorable moment. Well, particularly the way it's costumed, and also it's Reed and Harriet designs. Maybe we'll post a photo. It's these like fluffy pink.
yeah,
It's so cute. But also like I just love the pairing of you and Melissa. I think what unites you is a purity. Like you're both very, yeah, you're pure. There's no mannerisms in either one of your dancing. And so there's something about it that even though your training and your approach is very different, I feel like it makes total sense when you guys are on stage together.
yeah. I feel the same with Melissa. It's incredible. It's like we are just simply two humans on stage moving and connecting. And yeah, I'm very happy that we are visiting this parade again. And then for the last day on August 5th, it's a new work, which I believe it will be Michelle Duran's,
Mhm.
but I don't have a confirmation yet.
So you don't even know. We love
We
this.
know how this works, right? It's you probably going to be thrown into something else that happens while we're there. It's just
Exactly.
always something exciting and surprising that will happen.
As Demian says to me, always bring a tango hat. You never know if you're going to use it or not.
Hysterical.
Oh,
I
that's
love
so good.
that. That's so funny.
You know, going back to Black Swan for a second, I'm wondering what is it like? uh, I know Vale has additional challenges, the lack of air being one, but when you take something like Black Swan out of context, does it just feel so wildly different? Is it like so much easier because you didn't have to do the other acts before? Like, what is it like to just have to do it out of a canon?
It's actually the opposite. It's
It's the
3
opposite.
harder. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, 'cause
Interesting.
when you do like 3 hours ballet, you're not focused in the technique and that everything has to go perfect because you've been dancing nonstop.
Right.
But when you just have that moment, then it's like it gotta be perfect, and also like you don't have the whole story behind you that it led you to that moment. So it's like you need to be
That's so
right.
funny. We were just talking about this in the context of Swan Lake recently with Catelyn Addison. We were saying that when you do like a full ballet like that, not that we know, but we've heard from principals that it's just like there's so much content that it's like, how did it go? And you're kind of like, well, this went well. And it's like hard to maybe say how the whole thing went. But then when you condense it, there's like this additional pressure. That's I hadn't thought about that before. I can see how that's kind of like.
The only beauty about Black Swan, at least for the male part, is that in a sense, all the steps are easy steps because every step that you do in that variation are steps that you do in class every day.
Right.
As opposed to, I don't know, maybe don't cue, you never do it double and done in class and like that.
Yeah.
So Black Swan has the steps that you do every day. So in that sense, it's an easy one.
Do you warm up differently for it than you would for a full length ballet?
No, the warm-up
it'd be the same.
is the
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
I mean, something that struck me, I've thought this before, but I just saw Swan Lake with James and Kate, and I was like, there's so much sitting for poor Siegfried. He's just sitting the whole time, sitting in a chair. He's held aloft in a shoulder sit. And I'm like, that would make me, do you panic? Or are you just like, I want to be doing tondus. I need to be getting ready for
Yeah. I used to panic. Because there was so much sitting and then you have to stand up and dance. But now so many years into it, I'm like, oh, I know this.
I got this.
I get that. Oh my gosh, that would make me very nervous. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it about the Vail Dance Festival that makes you always want to come back year after year?
One is Damian and Heather. I think the way they conduct themselves and they approach the dancers, it's so in a very human way that there's no comparison with any other gala. It feels like a family, and also they build this arc for dancers. Like I look back in these 15 years that I've been part of Vail, I see my rep, how it grew and how it changed as well. Because now, like, I haven't been doing classical pas de deux in a long time, and Damien, it's been trying to create new things for me. Now I'm coming back with the classical pas de deux, but it seems like they really think about your life, your career, and the things that they give you. It has a meaning. So, you don't get that in other galas around the world. Just go to dance and leave. It's like a company. It's a director. And yeah, that's why I come back every year.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, one of the most unforgettable things I've seen in Vail is still, it's always going to be when you did Suite of Dances, and that is just, it's so fiendishly difficult, and it was just honestly insane to feel like you were actually energized as the performance went on, that you finished with more in the tank than you started with. I was like, this is nonsensical to me.
How long is that for our listeners who aren't familiar with it?
Like 10 minutes, isn't it? It's long.
Remember, yeah.
I was going to say 10 or 15 minutes. It's just a solo.
Yeah.
Anything past 3 minutes is long.
So true. So true. Anything after 50 seconds is long,
Honestly, and 50 seconds can sometimes be brutal.
Right.
The candy cane dance and the Nutcracker, terrible. I've always exhausting.
It's true.
Yeah.
Right. But that's so true. That was a moment I'll always remember too. It was so incredible. How many times did you do it there? Was it just that one performance?
I think so, yeah. It was the one show.
Yeah. Are you going to ask Damien to do it again someday?
It's like, I'll leave that one.
I'm more interested in doing new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm good. I did it in mountains.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been talking a lot about the rep that you've obviously done for many years now, but you are still getting to do new things like Etudes, I mentioned briefly, and then, Winter's Tale will come, and that will be a premiere for you. How do you think your approach to new roles has changed over time? Like, we're saying like Siegfried, the first time you did it, you're panicking that you're, you have to sit for so long, but then whatever, I feel like at this point with so much behind you, like whatever challenges may be in Winter's Tale, I think they're not going to phase you the same way as if you had to learn it when you were 21.
Yeah, no, there's so much focus in your technique when you're young. That right now technique it take a second place, and it's about the artistry and truly what the audience take from a show. Because when I talk to people from the audience, let's say 10 years that they've seen a Romeo and Juliet, like with me and Alessandra, they talk about emotions. They never talk about steps. So, you realize that ultimately what you give as an artist is more important than 10 pirouette or a triple tour.
So true.
They never talk about that.
Yeah.
Really true.
I wonder if there's a part that you haven't done yet, something that you would love to do one day, or a ballet that maybe hasn't made it into the rep that you would love to dance.
Well, for example, this season that we did on Egin, I was in cast for it. But I believe that's been always like that. I will never make it with my height in doing that ballet because they're still, old-fashioned. So yeah, like I don't have those ballets in my head anymore. What I'm focused on is in creating new stuff.
Yeah.
and also, when you start creating new pieces, then you are part of history, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I can still write a strongly worded letter to the Cranko Trust in your name. I do think because I mean,
It's crazy.
for
Like,
me,
I
it's a
remember
little silly.
the excuse many years ago not to be cast as Zelensky is because I wasn't blonde. Now, 20 years later, I'm not cast for Onegin because I'm short. So yeah.
Well, I mean, this is a different podcast, but I really don't believe in typecasting. I mean, because of course the Balanchine ballets get to be the same way, but one of my favorite performances I ever saw is this ballet Faust that's always cast because it was Suzanne, and Suzanne's tall and long, and she was the only one that ever did it in Balanchine's lifetime. But then we had a very petite ballerina, Jeanette Delgado, do it, and it was like it looks like this amazing new ballet I've never seen before. So I think if we're denying talents like you a chance to like show us a different path with that, I think that's just short-sighted. But that's what I'll say in my letter.
Thank you for the support. Yeah, definitely still happening, but we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on this Saturday morning. We so appreciate it. We know you're so busy right now. You've made us so excited for Vail. We already were excited, and now we just can't wait to see you dance again and again. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. I love you guys.
Thanks so much.
Conversations on Dance is part of the ACAST Creator Network. For more information, visit conversationsondancepod.com.